Right, thank you very much, everyone, for coming. We're being extremely lucky today. Not even one of our panelists has decided not to come as well, so apologies on his behalf. Mark Topil, CEO of Sotogrande, has had some issues yesterday night, so he had to cancel and couldn't make it. So the idea is that you guys help us and put a few more questions to gain some more time. Now, that's not the only incident that we've had. Apparently, I am from Angola, according to the organization. That's it. Everyone, I am from Spain, though. So this has resorts, and as a coincidence, 3 Spanish panelists. We had Mark, who's French, actually, but to help us with. And the subject is creating value through renovations and resorts. So we've got 2 people here now, together plus me, who have a plenty of experience. Maria Saruluki is the head of global development for Meliá Hotels, and is a person known for having closed 110 deals in the last 3 years. So that's some developments going through. She's a lawyer, so I don't know what that's. Some people complain about lawyers not closing deals. Well, there we have an example. And the person to her left side, it's lawyer as well. It's Ignacio Sanjurjo. Ignacio has plenty of experience in M&A and real estate, and his specialty is in hotels. And he's the partner for real estate in Deloitte in Spain. And he has worked throughout his career, not only in hotel deals, but in many of the bigger resorts that have happened throughout. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you. And to put in the time.
Again, Angola.
We'll do things the Angolan way. So now, in resorts, we've seen over the last few years, we've seen certainly a lack of investment going in because of the recession particularly. And we all seem to be renovating. We all seem to be putting CapEx now. There's a lot of things happening in the hotel chains. So, I mean, should everyone become, and I know this is going to sound like the classic one, so should everyone become Airbnb today through renovations?
Well, jokes apart, I think that Airbnb and other models have put at the end an extra push to the hoteliers and other segments of the market to reinvent ourselves. It's a need, the old hospitality, which was the reality of just selling beds in a nice location, in my opinion, is quite dead. So at the end, we have to follow what the trends are. And one of the trends, which Airbnb saw, is and they have followed one path, and I think that for us to differentiate ourselves, we have to sell all the things, as for example, to sell services, experiences, and following what the clients would like to see or perceive when they are in a hotel. We have been having maybe in the leisure, which is the object of this panel, we have been seeing that on mid-scale or even budget or even above, the reality of the offering was more like a commodity. You were selling beds in a very nice location. But now the reality is that we have all the type of clients, we have all the type of ages coming to the hotels, and they are looking different experience. As for that, we, as Meliá, of course I'm representing Meliá, have reinvented ourselves, for example, in mid-scale as well, with the Soul brand, where we have tried to give the clientele what they want, not just to be in a hotel, spending time drinking and sun, but remembering that, that our hotels have a say, they're interesting, and we have segmented our brands just to bring that value to the table.
No, that's fantastic. Obviously, we see that everyone has taken some time throughout recession to rethink what they need to do with the CapEx. Now, Ignacio, you and I have talked often about the difficulty, I'm going into Airbnb again, the difficulty of the legal advisory into these new areas. Is it easy to become Airbnb?
That's a strange
perspective.
That's a strange question for a lawyer to convert into Airbnb, or at least it might have a difficult answer. Although it's true that we are having a few examples of new kinds of law firms nowadays, and they are inspiring. But if you allow me a personal advertising spot, I would say that it has an easy answer for me in this forum because I joined Deloitte Legal 1 year ago, precisely this week 1 year ago.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. After being a partner at a large law firm in my country, in Spain, a traditional law firm, because it was and it is my understanding that clients like Melia need more than what we call a one-stop shopping law firm. They need global or cross-border and integrated legal services providers, but with a more complex and richer approach to the work, and therefore integrated with other professionals. In other words, I think that clients nowadays demand, one-stop shopping firm, not law firm, meaning a firm with global reach, with the last technology, with the best processes in order to support our clients to achieve their goals. Therefore, I don't know if I converted myself, but at least I adapted.
No, that's, I think, fairly enough, and congratulations on that one. Sometimes you think of the big firms as very difficult to change and adapt, but it seems that everyone needs to be able to adapt in order to advise what's happening now. As I said before, recession. Lots of time to think, new products, new disruptors, as we say. Maria, I've seen a lot of changes, a lot of things happening in Melia. Mm-hmm. You're going really global this time. Mm-hmm. What's your view on creating value through all these new investments, all this capping? How is that affecting you?
Well, I think that we, as I said before, we are trying to be very innovative and to achieve what we are expecting what the clients expect from us, which is quite a differentiation. So, if I may, I think that in Melia, we think that innovation sits in 4 initial pillars, which I think they're there. So at the end, we see innovation not just in product, like changing walls and other types of products. We're thinking about transforming areas. If we talk about transforming, we as Melia, what we have done is when we have seen the perfect match or a perfect location for products in leisure, which at the end were not very profitable at this moment because they were old-fashioned in the old kind of service, and in the hotel themselves they didn't look as the new trends. We transformed them. And one example here is what you have in the image, which is the Magaluf project we have done, which at the end has been okay. We have Magaluf, which is quite challenging. It's everywhere because of different matters, totally independent from Melia, hopefully. And what we did is transforming all the beach. We have a high deluxe hotel, we have waves in some others, we have family concepts, we have thematizations in others. So to do a full experience around an area which has leveraged upwards, not just our experience and our products, but the area itself. So I think that it's a good example of that, what can happen not just in Magaluf, but in other parts of the Mediterranean. In addition to that, we think about innovation, about bringing brand value to the assets. Brand cannot be static. A brand cannot say, okay, I have this portfolio, you have to do this. It has to be adaptable on a more day-to-day basis, on a cultural basis, because now we're talking about the Mediterranean, which is very widely, very nice, very open, minimal, we could say. But if we go to Asia and you go leisure and you go white, they look at you and say, like, white? This is very linked to funerals. We don't like it. So you have to change your way of doing things. So that's brand awareness, a brand bringing value to a place. Afterwards, of course, something that I'm pretty sure you would like to talk about is the digitalization of the world. Nowadays, the reality is that the normal selling, the normal interaction with the clients has completely changed. The direct channels, as for example, in our case, Melia.com, has enormous increase per year. We're talking about more than 30% per year increase on selling. The sales of loyalty, as for example, Melia Rewards as well, has an incredible demand on digital, the mobile sellings, the apps, everything that is linked to fastness and interaction is what the people is demanding. So Melia is heavily investing in this part. And as well, guest experience, of course, we have to follow the new trends, like the millennium trends. So we have Twitter hotels, we have connectivity that people can play and plug and play between them. We have all the clients come to the market as the Chinese, so we have a program just for the Chinese. And I can just, because I love this kind of thing, so I can keep going, talking. But I think that the important message is we as hoteliers have to constantly reinvent the idea, because nowadays, in Spain, for example, we were very used that the clients were coming, nothing to be done, and that's it. After it came the crisis, all the people went out, and we were like, whoops, what is going on now? We don't have money to do nothing, and now they're coming back again because there are macroeconomic and political situation that is helping. So the reality is that to take a path on a longer stay basis, we really have to be competitive, not in price, but in product and service. So this is a little bit what the company has tried to do, and always leverage by big partners that has come with us, like AAA partners, I would say, that we go from fundings and family office, and we have a lot of names to put on the table, but at the end, what the company is trying is to have leverage of partnerships helping us to do this kind of evolution within the group.
So from what you say, Maria, I think Melia, as many other companies, you have been reactive to the customer needs, and now you're putting the capex and your partners, such as Starwood Capital and so on. You're creating that, but Ignacio, we've spent years on the agreements, on the legal agreements, saying that capex should be something constant, that there should be a 3% or 4 or 5%, depending on the type of hotel, FF&E reserve, that the hotel should always be kept to a standard. Now, we've been through recession. How do we protect the owner of the hotel in the agreements? And some reflection as well, Ignacio. Is it better to keep constant, or has recession done good from your view as a lawyer to create new things? Are your clients happy to see the new injections of capital? What's your view? How do we protect the owner in essence?
Well, I think that we should take into account that the operating agreement is just a part of a big deal. The legal documents are a part of a big deal. So we should face those documents in that scenario, in that context. It's difficult to give a general advice. It depends also on to whom I should be advising, the operator or the owner. But if you mentioned to protect the owner, I think that we should, allow me to make 3 suggestions. The first one would be to increase the economical provisions in the agreements instead of repeating the obligations of the parties which are already known in the sector, and I think they are nearly unnecessary. Secondly, we should increase or to dilute the real estate component of the agreements, and to link the obligations of the parties to the financial obligations of the owner, which have been forgotten in many cases and are very, very important. And third, last but not least, we should somehow try to negotiate, and I'm having here a big hotel chain, we should negotiate more flexible clauses, more flexible provisions in the way that they can mitigate imbalances in drop scenarios, and they can allow profits in growth periods. And I think we don't see that flexibility as often as it would be optimum.
No, I think you're suggesting a challenge. I mean, to link the reserves and the investment to the financial results just being a percentage, but actually when that needs to come in and so on. And my view is that quite often I'd rather have a hotel that has been adapted to the new customer today than have something which is going to keep on the constant 3-4% FF&E reserve, and at the end of the day you have a dated concept. So that should be, when we sign agreements 15-20 years in length, what we're seeing now, and I think we go back to the Airbnb point of view, we're seeing that people, the current millennials, are more about the experience. We're seeing that things need to change. So And we have been drafting agreements saying, no, this should be constant.
Right.
And that takes me to the next point, Maria. We've seen big changes in Spain. I think last year we saw a lot of press on Magaluf and Calviá, and a lot of drinking and some other things strange. That's my colleagues from England. Oh, sorry, not Germans. And sorry, Simon. So, Philip, yes, sorry.
I live in Spain.
Oh, converted.
So you're converted.
I'm from Angola. Well, we've seen a big change. You mentioned Magaluf, but yesterday was a big party, which apparently I missed. Thank you for. I was invited, but I did miss it. There was a big party in Ibiza themed by Meliá. Sorry, keep on putting the soul there. And there's been a big change. Everyone is talking about the big returns being made on Ibiza. What's happening in Ibiza? You've gone big with your Me. What's going on there?
Well, as part of the repositioning of branding that Meliá has done, has been to analyze the portfolio of hotels that we have in our company, and to see which of them had a potential, which of them should be going to the next level. So the reality is that because we started 60 years ago, we do have a lot of hotels in leisure which needs heavily repositioning. So our goal was not selling them, because we know that we knew this asset had a potential. So we went to the next level. So in different areas, as for example in Ibiza, we took the right properties and we did heavy renovations within them with a very controlled capex in very limited time, just to see the figures. I'm going to do a little bit of show off now. So, for example, this property, we're talking about the new Me Ibiza. This was Sol Argamasa. It's a hotel that is located in a very nice first-line beach area. It took us 3 months and a half to do a completely change from I would say 3-star property to a 5-star really lifestyle concept. We didn't close for the season. It was done in winter, heavily done during winter. We invest 40 million on that. You can see, for example, an example of what was the lobby and what is now. You have, for example, the rooms with 35,000 per key investment. What was the room before? What is now the rooms? And with that, if we go to next level, we can say we have had 200%, more than 200% increase in average room rate. A very heavy increase in RevPAR, which is about 171%, and GOP par of more than 342%, which is quite impressive.
That is impressive. I mean, looking at the room, obviously it's just, a coat of paint and a new mattress and a new TV and a couple of things, but certainly that's a return on investment.
And a new tree.
Experience. And if you go to the next one, because then that's a good one. Because this is the first real year of opening. It's not like second, wherever. And we expect an increase on RevPAR for year 2018 of more than 350%. So at the end, what we're saying here is that you invest right, which means that you don't have to invest a lot. You invest right in the things that the people perceive as value, that sometimes is not linked to the bed or the walls or the look and feel. It's linked to that, but it's linked to the service as well. What you are going to see when you go to a property, really you can have a high yield with a high return on investment, and this is a pure example.
Is that the same room, or did you make it?
It's the same room, exactly the same room.
But
you can see that.
The junior suite and the regular room, so
No. You can see it's the same room.
Okay.
It's the same room. So at the end, what we did with this property, of course, it doesn't have to do anything to do of what it was before, but it's changing the look and feel of all the property, as well as changing the service and the experience that the people is going to have in this hotel. But maybe you may say, okay, this is because they went from mid-scale to luxury. That's easy. I could do a 200% there as well. But maybe if I go to the next property there. We have a Salt Beach House, which is the brand I was explaining before, which is our mid-scale brand. We have segmented in 4 different type of brands depending on the clientele. So in particular, this one, was converted from a sole family-oriented hotel to an adult-only beach house, which at the end, well, this is the family of brands. And beach house is, we call it your house on the beach. It's a place that to be relaxed. It's very linked to the new millennium eco-touch that you don't have any constraints on timings. You can have breakfast whenever you want, lunch whenever you want. So it's just relaxed. We say it like a little Formentera type of service. So we compared this hotel to the other hotel, and from there, here you have some examples. There was the lobby. In here, we're talking about, again, of 3.5 months of conversion. We're talking about 9.5 million of investment, and with that, we completely transform it. We are doing an investment of around about 13,200 per key. In here, the good thing as well is you have very warm materials, but they are not like super expensive. At the end, it's more like the feeling. They're easy to be clean, easy to be maintained, so that reduces the operational cost as well. So we had done a deal with Desigual, so to bring an extra value to our properties, so just these colorful touches within this brand. So you can see the old look and feel of a pure like tour operator hotel of the, well, 60s that has converted into a fresh, clean place where you would like to be. And if you go to the
Desigual was born in Ibiza,
yes,
so again,
so there.
more,
Sorry, I didn't know if you can go back. Sorry. And with this one, we're talking about an increase on GOP power of more than 148%.
Wow.
And this is first year of operation. So that's another example of doing things without changing yet reality the clientele, because we had to sell the property and our clients didn't know what they were going to buy. And one thing that is not there, which is very important, is this hotel was almost 90% tour operator. Now it's above 60% direct selling through our means. Why? Because we have segmented it differently, we are selling differently, our clientele perception of the property is completely different, and that, of course, benefits the margin
you've
of the
taken then, it's not about not just about renovation, Mary. I mean, you've gone through the whole concept of relaunching the hotel.
Way beyond.
And this, to me, proves that rather than a coat of paint and keeping the same hotel, it's much better actually to go full blow into it.
Exactly, because it's to put money in the right places. It's not saying, well, yeah, I want to do nice rooms. Yes, but is the nice rooms where the people want to spend time or not? Because if you go to these kind of concepts, you see, for example, beach house, that the type of clientele that goes, they normally do not spend that much time in the room, even if they go on leisure. So the room has to be clean, nice, but they are not big. They're quite small, these kind of rooms, because we couldn't change them. But the common areas make you feel that you are interacting with people, that you have, like, for example, the animation we have in this hotel is more linked to just jazz sessions, music environment, so people can interact and be between them. Common tables, because people want to not to eat alone, maybe, or maybe with a couple, but maybe they want to make friends when they are in leisure because they don't have that many time during their day-to-day lives. So at the end, it's knowing the client, and with knowing the client, not being reactive, being proactive. So I think that, well, here you have some examples which I think are very impressive. 9 million converted in 238% increase in GOPA. This is one of the examples we did with Starwood Capital. We have many. We have in almost everywhere, in Canary Islands, in Marbella, well, a little bit of everything. In each segmentation, we go from Sol, Melia, me, and it can be done. It's a matter of knowing how to be done.
But this is not just you. This is, and I think it's important, not just the hotel, it's the destination in itself. Ibiza has gone through a revival. We spoke about Magaluf, and you are actually part of that renovation of the resort. We were talking about the conference of the Mediterranean Resort and Hotel Forum. What does it take for resorts to renovate? And I think this is a clear example. I believe you had a video as well.
Yeah, just to give a little bit of cheer up. So you want to go to a Soho hotel?
Allow my technological skills here. There we go. I don't know about you, but I think I'm going to try that hotel.
You should.
Now, Ignacio, over to you. You have been involved in the past. We go way back, Ignacio and I. Age comes through. You've been involved in quite a lot of some of the bigger resorts in your previous firm, and Deloitte as well now in some of the bigger projects. Now, it's very difficult from the legal point of view to try and combine all the aspects. You have hotels, you have residential, you have golf courses, you have theme parks, you have water parks. And of course, knowing that you're obliged to confidentiality as a good lawyer, what can you tell us about how easy it is to combine and to foster the change of a renovation from your experience?
Okay, I have a presentation is not so impressive as Maria's one, but it will try to help. It's not self-explanatory, it's just a guide of what I'm trying to convey. Because when talking about creating value through renovations, we have to understand this little piece of the puzzle that is the legal perspective. Let me try to explain. When we think of a resort, we have to think of those players involved in a resort, and we should think of, obviously, the private sector. And the private sector understands a resort, and you correct me, Maria, as a combination of these three elements. Leisure, as you said, Horacio, in all the different kinds of leisure, meaning spa, golf, horse riding, skiing, water parks, whatever. Hotel, in all the ways of running a hotel in the industry, a condo, a hotel properly, service apartments, whatever. And finally, real estate. Real estate meaning residential. Okay, this is from the private perspective. What about the public sector? The public perspective understands resort as a tool for tourism, for political of tourism economy. So is the intervention of the administration through the regulation always taking priority of the defense of certain interests. So we have to combine everything, all these elements, when working legally in a resort. Generally speaking, in a resort, meaning development, but also, as we will see later, in renovations and conversions. So if we have these understandings of a resort, what are those players looking for? Well, as we have seen in the previous presentation, the private sector looks for growth. It's obvious, and they manage it, and they succeed in having that growth. What does the public administration look for? It's very curious. They look for growth, in a different understanding of growth. But growth becomes an absolute value that brings together all the players and that we have to deal with when legally working on a resort, as I said, development or renovation and conversion. So if that's what they are looking for, what do they demand to each other in a resort? Understanding a resort, given that value, as a specialized land, specialized site, they demand to each other, the private sector demands to the public sector, lax legislation, low taxation, and if possible, public investment. That's what we have seen in Spain during many years in many projects. If we take the two first issues, lax laws and low taxation, probably we can only find that in tax havens, not in our countries. But that's what they ask for. What do the public sector demand to the private sector? They demand for creating employment and for social welfare. And what social welfare, it will depend also on the politician side of that public administration. So that's what they demand to each other. What can they offer to each other? Well, going specifically to the renovations and conversions of resorts, what the private sector can offer to the public administration is the integration of the tourism, real estate, and financial capital working all together in a common project. What the public administration can offer to the investors, they can offer the possibility to attract investment, they can offer legal certainty, and finally, the legitimation of private investment. Unfortunately, we are seeing, for instance, in our country, in Spain, examples of what it has been a success model of attracting investment, of collaboration with the private sector that is somehow diluting nowadays. We have clear examples in Barcelona or in Madrid where the public administration, depending on the side of the politicians, they are never more offering those issues which are really necessary. So when focusing on renovations and conversion of resorts, necessarily we are talking about private-public, necessarily. So we have to legally working on those space, operation of the private sector and operation of the public sector. And we have to put all together in order to create that value for both parties, which it's the main purpose of that renovation and conversion. Obviously, this is just a piece of that puzzle. There are many others, as the financial regulations, the coming laws, the green law, the sustainability, and so on, that could be part of another panel.
No, obviously, I'm from Angola. I could do any type of resort. But I don't know if you're aware, for example, in Spain, it's a country traditionally linked to tourism, sun, et cetera, et cetera. There's been 4 or 5 projects that came in maybe at the wrong time during recession, but there was a Las Vegas project to be happening in the south of Madrid, and that never went through because of the legal implications. The investors demanded quite a lot of flexibility. There was also the Don Quixote Kingdom, or whatever it was called, the same implications. And we have seen some fairly large investments, 60, 70,000 square meter buildings going for renovation, and the legal side of the public sector has been quite strong. So it's no longer you can do what you want. It's obviously regulated, and that is certainly changing.
But although it's regulated, Horacio, I think when we sit around the table with the public administration, it's obviously that they can contribute, and Melia can explain that in Magaluf, for instance, just expediting the deadlines is helping so much. And it's just a little effort for the public administration.
It's true that for all the renovations I have been talking about, 3 months, 4 months renovations, on heavy renovations, we had to have the governments, the local governments, facing the same road as we were facing, because if not, it's quite complicated. But as you said, nowadays we're seeing a little bit blind politicians in other locations, because these private-public relationships always bring social welfare, as you were saying, and employment. So.
I was impressed. I think as for a lawyer, that presentation, no pictures, of course, but that was very good, Ignacio.
Yes.
I agree.
So before we go to the public, for some free legal advice from Deloitte here. Pact, one final question to you. Conversions or renovations, where you have spoken, Maria, about what you just did. Where do we go into the future with that?
Well, I think that for the future is keeping the track. We have to continue be doing that, not just with our hotels. Now that we have really the scheme, we think that this scheme can be provided to third parties, and this is what we're doing actually, because we believe that there are plenty of opportunities out there for reinventing our services and our offer. Because if you go to an example, not just Spain, but if you go to Italy or Greece, or even if you go to other parts of the world, you can see assets where they have the right location, which is the first thing. If you have the right location, you have a say. You have a growing location, you have a perfect result, but it doesn't work.
So where is the next place happening? I mean, you've done Ibiza. Where does Melia see the next changes? Is it brands? Is it locations?
Well, in relation to locations, the locations I think are quite clear. I think in Spain there are plenty of opportunities, plenty of them. As far as we are an old country doing leisure, so for that we have a lot of resorts that were quite old, and we were very used not to put money on them. So there are plenty of places where we can bring value. But if I talk a little bit more openly, not just to Spain, we can talk as well in Portugal, all the Algarve area. There are plenty of opportunities. If we're talking about Italy as well, you have a lot of things to be done in resort-wise, and in the Caribbean we are seeing a lot of renovation as well.
Cuba, of course.
Cuba is a fashion place now, and I think Cuba will have, well, has been very important for us for the last 25 years, and it will keep being very important for us for the next 25, hopefully.
It's all about 4 words: Ibiza, Cuba. There you go.
Yes.
Ignacio, from your side, I know it's a little bit more difficult, but where do you see any changes?
I think we have no idea what's going to happen. I think we have no idea. I mean, I think nobody has a clue what the world will look in, not in 10, 5, 2 years' time. I have been a loyal assistant to this conference, and if I recall my notes of 7 years ago, and we would double check what's happened, I don't know.
Very difficult.
I don't dare to make any prediction. I'm a lawyer.
Of course. Now, anyone from the public would like to ask some questions? Jorge?
Yeah, it's a question for Maria. Until when do we have to change our product? You know, because it seems like hotels and any kind of service in the world change every year. How are we gonna assist these clients willing to? Maybe I think your product is awesome, but maybe in 2 years' time they get bored, say, hey, new thing, and then you are incredible. You have an incredible team, and you are able to do another new beach house concept. But how can you do it so many times in time? You cannot reconvert yourself every 2 years. And I see, like with the clothes, which I think is where it started. Mm-hmm. Now they they have like 8 to 9 seasons. They used to have 2. Now they have 7 to 9 seasons. So it's crazy where the clients are asking you to go.
Yeah, I think that at the end, it's very much linked of what I was saying about experience more than product. Because what I have put here is heavy renovations, because we're talking about products that we, as a company, bought in the 50s, and we're renovating them now, which is a lot of years ago afterwards. But after that, it's not like heavily renovating yourself. The important thing is not to do it constantly on a service basis, and that the renovation that you do is not like a completely fashionable thing. You have to do things simple enough so they are constant in time, and afterwards you can do soft touchings with at the end change the experience that they are perceiving. Because now what you're saying, well, maybe the clients will not like Salt Beach in the future, they will like, I don't know, the space type of look and feel. But the reality is not that. The reality is that we're facing a change of clientele as well. We're facing that if the reality of the tsunami of the Chinese will arrive, we will see another scenario within our way of doing things. So you have to constantly ask your clients what they want and investigate by yourself to try not to be reactive, but to be proactive and to present things that can surprise them for a very short time, because everything in hospitality is copied. If you're very good and you do the heavily bed, for example, that one of our competitors did a long time ago, all of us have a nice, fantastic mattress nowadays. So that was how long? 2 months, 3 months? Wow, I'm the goodest. And when we launched the Me brand, it was like, wow, this is astonishing how many lifestyle brands we have now on the table. So at the end, you have to constantly do things so people perceive that you are there, you listen to them, and they feel that you have something to say. And the most important thing for us is our personnel, how they deliver the service and the experience. Because if you go to a gorgeous hotel and the people treat you bad, you will never go back.
Yeah, that's true.
So I hope.
I think the question with Ignacio. How are you going to explain the owners this constant renovation of the asset, you know?
That's a very good question. I think that we have seen deeper negotiations trying to delimitate the capex through capex programs, and we have seen negotiations trying to involve the owner in those programs, because it is obvious when you advise to an owner, to the investor, that those expenditures can mean an increase of the gross revenues, but not necessarily of the profits. Therefore, from that standpoint, from that perspective, I think that the owner must have the right to be involved in those programs, must have the right to be involved in the control, in monitoring those expenditures. On the other side, we have to be very careful, because, for instance, if we are talking about a management agreement, when introducing those rights, the manager will link those rights to its performance. So if, for instance, we have a performance test, the other side of the coin will be, if you are involved in the capex and you limit my management in this regard, that will impact on the performance test, for instance. So it's a question of case by case, but I think that the owner must be involved in that constant capex for that.
What we're seeing, if the owner doesn't get involved, a new owner comes in and creates value through renovations, which is what we're talking about. Any further questions from the audience, Philip?
At what point in time do you accept that the building has just got to go?
Sorry.
The economic useful life of a building is not forever.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So at what point in time
You change?
do you just get rid of the building and start again?
Well, you know that real estate has a cycle, so it's a matter of a lot of components. At the end is the value or the amortization of the building you have done and the right moment to sell. So normally you buy...
Oh, sorry, no,
yeah.
I didn't mean get rid of sell, I meant
Okay.
get rid derrumbar.
Derrumbar. Yes. Well, I don't think. I think it's a matter of if you do things properly and you don't do what we have done heavily in Spain in the last 40 years, is doing nothing. Really, you do not have to reach that point to just get rid of it completely. The thing is to keep constantly on the track. And that's not easy, because nowadays you say, yeah, I will put a FF&E reserve, I will be investing this and that, but when you're in the fat cows, you don't care that much, because you say, well, they can do whatever I do, but that's not a real situation. And we faced that in Spain in the past. We faced a situation where everything was going well. We had a heavy competition from Turkey, from Egypt, from Tunis. They were playing in price, and in Turkey in value as well. And Spain has started to have a huge problem with that one. So if we do not learn from the past and start doing things properly on a constant way, we'll have to do what you're saying, get rid of assets, which is not the ideal thing.
But coming back to Ignacio's point about the public sector, because that's also, I'm just thinking out the Playa de Palma, which it's probably got to the point now where really you need to start getting rid of the assets and stuff.
Or in Madrid, there is a clear example of a building.
Or reinventing, because in Magaluf we haven't put them down, but we have reinvented the beach area. We have put so many assets there that are facing all the type of experience, and that has to be done with a private - public aid, because the reality is that in all the parts of the world, maybe Middle East, the investment of the public sector is very heavily. In Europe, it's not that way. It's just opening doors for that to happen. And in Magaluf, for example, the success of it is not just linked of what we have done as a group. It's linked as well to security. So they have to put more security to make things properly. It's linked to licensing. It's linked to the type of clientele you allow to come to Mallorca at the end. Because what do you want to have in Mallorca? All type of clienteles? Or which kind of segmentation you want to be with? And to do it from a just political way, it doesn't work. Because the business people is the people that know as well what we have to bring to the table. So it has to be a mix. So I say, Playa de Palma is a good example that things are not moving very fast on the right way.
Have your clients changed? Has your segmentation changed?
Heavily.
Yeah.
Heavily.
Yes,
The
otherwise
hotel
you
in Mi Mallorca, in Magaluf, I can tell you that they were paying, I think it was like 20 euros all inclusive, and now they are paying around about 400. So you can say what is the change of people that are going there. They come with their boats to the hotel instead with their cars, because we don't want them as well to cross certain areas. So it's a heavy change.
But it, again, involves the public sector.
Exactly. It
Because,
has to be
and you
involved.
need the public administration putting themselves at the service of the private.
And more so, I think it's a very fair question, Philip. Myself, I'm a hotel investor, and I was looking at some properties in Ibiza, funnily enough, and as an anecdotal, they were looking into instead of looking into the sea, they were looking into the beach, and I was talking to the architects, and I said, why was this? They told me that in the old Spain of Franco, men wanted to look at the women in the bikinis rather than look at the sea. But what I wanted to do actually was throw the building down and make it look to the sea. But my architects were telling me, if we do that, we will have to destroy the building, and hence, because it's on the beach, we will not be able to remake it.
Exactly.
And I think this calls for the public sector as well to say we want to renovate resorts and we want to renovate destinations, then we need help as well. Otherwise,
They are large-scale urban projects. They are more than a resort. They normally impact on a specific zone.
Okay. Any more questions from the audience? No one wants free advice from our lawyers here. So thank you very much, Maria and Ignacio, for coming, and I'm sorry that Mark wasn't able to join us. And thank you very much for everyone for having attended and giving us your time to listen to my colleagues here. So thank you very much.
Thank you.